You know, things feel pretty tense between India and Pakistan right now, especially after that terrible attack in Pahalgam.
Definitely.
And then, bam, right in the middle of all this, Pakistan goes ahead with a training launch, the Abdali weapon system.
Yeah, it certainly makes you sit up and take notice.
Exactly. So, okay, it's a show of force, we get that. But what's the deeper message? And maybe a bit of a strange question, but why Abdali? Let's try and unpack this.
Absolutely. And we've got some, I think, really interesting insights to delve into here, mostly drawing from reporting and analysis in the Eurasian Times. They've covered the missile launch itself, but also this fascinating and I'd argue very deliberate way Pakistan names its weapons.
And how India does it too, right?
Exactly. We'll compare that. And for you listening, maybe especially if you're keeping track for the UPSC exams, understanding these, let's say, subtler geopolitical signals and the history behind them, it's really crucial.
Okay, so this Abdali launch exercise, Indy-US, they called it, doesn't sound like just routine training.
The timing feels very pointed.
Right. Straight after Pahalgam and with Pakistan talking about, a possible Indian reaction, it feels calculated. They tested the Abdali system, also called the HEFF-2, focusing on its navigation and maneuverability.
And it's worth looking at what the Abdali missile actually is, technically speaking. It's a surface-to-surface ballistic missile. Range is stated around 450 kilometers.
450 kilometers, okay.
Been in service quite a while, actually, since about 2005. Suparco developed it. It's launched from a road mobile vehicle, TEL, which gives it, flexibility.
Right, harder to track.
And importantly, it's capable of carrying both conventional and nuclear warheads. Uses inertial guidance, basically, internal sensors, no external signals needed for navigation. The claimed accuracy, the CEP, is about 150 meters.
So half the warheads expected within a 150-meter radius circle.
Precisely. So yeah, the timing combined with these capabilities, it strongly suggests a message aimed at India, a preparedness message.
The "we're ready" message seems pretty loud and clear then. But back to that name, Abdali. Ahmad Shah Abdali. 18th century Afghan ruler known for invading the subcontinent. Given the, well, let's just say, complicated relationship between Pakistan and Afghanistan today, it feels a bit odd, doesn't it, choosing him?
It does raise an eyebrow at first glance, absolutely. The Eurasian Times piece actually uses a really interesting analogy. They compare it to, say, Ukraine naming a missile after Catherine the Great.
Ooh, yeah, that wouldn't go down well today, considering Crimea.
Exactly. But, as the article points out, this isn't just a random choice by Pakistan. It seems to be part of a very consistent pattern, naming missiles after foreign Muslim invaders of India, mostly Turkic, some Afghan.
Ah, okay, so it's not a one-off. There's a history here.
There really is.
Let's look at some others then. You've got the Ghaznavi missile, or Hap III, named after Mahmud of Ghazni.
Right. Turkic origin, ruled from Afghanistan, famous or infamous, depending on your perspective, for his raids into India. The destruction of the Somnath Temple is often mentioned.
A very charged historical reference. And then the Gowri missiles.
Named after Mahmud of Ghor, another Afghan ruler, late 12th century. He's known for defeating Prithviraj Chauhan, which really opened the door for the Delhi Sultanate, a major turning point.
And Babur, the Hatfiya 7th cruise missile.
After the founder of the Mughal Empire. Turkic background from the Fergana Valley. His invasions led to centuries of Mughal rule.
Even naval ships, right. There's a frigate named Alamgir.
Yes, after the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb. A figure often associated with policies viewed as discriminatory towards Hindus, like the jizya tax and temple destruction.
And didn't they name a port after Muhammad bin Qasim?
They did, in Sindh.
Yeah.
He was the Arab commander who led the early Muslim conquest in the subcontinent, way back in the 8th century.
Wow. Okay, so the pattern is stark. As the Eurasian Times piece says, there's a complete lack of, local Pakistani heroes in these names.
It's striking, isn't it? And it feels very intentional.
So what's the thinking behind it? What's the strategy? Is it just about pointing fingers, or is there something, deeper going on?
The analysis suggests it's kind of twofold. First, yes, using names of historical invaders of India sends a pretty clear symbolic message to New Delhi about who the perceived adversary is.
Right. A bit unsubtle.
Perhaps. But secondly, and maybe more fundamentally, it works to reinforce the two-nation theory.
The whole idea that Hindus and Muslims were separate nations, the basis for partition.
Exactly. By constantly highlighting rulers linked to conflict with Hindus or destruction of Hindu sites, it reinforces that narrative. It's not just history, it shapes present perceptions, which, for anyone involved in diplomacy or analysis like future UPSC professionals, makes things very complex.
That's a powerful use of symbolism, almost weaponizing history itself through nomenclature. Now, the article also mentioned other types of names Pakistan uses, not directly tied to South Asia.
Yes, that's right. You see names from broader Islamic history, like the Haqq series itself. Haqq means vengeance, apparently linked to the Prophet Muhammad's lance,
There's the Zulfiqar frigate.
named after the Prophet's famous saber. Then you have tank names like Al-Khalid and Al-Zarar, named after major early Islamic military figures.
So reinforcing a pan-Islamic identity.
Precisely. It helps cement that identity while also sort of consciously setting aside the region's pre-Islamic past, the Hindu, Buddhist, Sikh history that's also part of modern Pakistan's heritage. It's a selective reading of history.
And it's interesting you mentioned the Eurasian Times pointing out they also use Persian and Arabic words Nasr for victory, Ababil, Shaheen, but not so much from local languages like Urdu or Punjabi.
That's another key observation in the analysis. It suggests this might also be part of that broader Islamization trend, maybe distancing from languages potentially associated with that pre-Islamic shared past.
Okay. This really throws India's approach into sharp contrast, doesn't it? It feels like a totally different philosophy at work.
It really does. The Eurasian Times piece emphasizes how India has largely steered clear of naming weapons after, say, Hindu kings, specifically famous for fighting Muslim rulers.
Even though there are figures they could have used like Shivaji or Rana Sanga or Maharana Pratap.
Or Guru Gobind Singh, Ranjit Singh, exactly, there are many. Instead, India tends to draw from Sanskrit, from Hindu epics, Vedic gods.
Like Prithvi for earth, Akash for sky, Aryant, slayer of enemies, or names from the Mahabharata like Arjuna and Bhishma.
And Agni, Varuna, Rudra, deeply rooted in Vedic tradition, even when a king is used, like Ines Vikramaditya.
He's known for fighting the Shakas, invaders from the west, not specifically Muslim rulers from within the subcontinent.
Right. It reflects a more secular approach generally, avoiding overtly anti-Muslim symbolism and military naming. And interestingly, even though Pakistan seems to link Persian with Islamic identity, India also uses Persian names.
Like the Shamsherjet or ships named Bahadur or Bulan.
Yeah. It really highlights the different foundational ideas of the two states, right, from 1947.
So wrapping this up, looking at this Abdali launch, and maybe even more interestingly, digging into why these weapons get the names they do, it gives you a real window into the core identities, the historical narratives still shaping India and Pakistan today.
Absolutely. It's a potent reminder. Something as seemingly simple as a name on a missile carries so much historical and ideological weight. Understanding these symbols is, I think, vital for grasping the India-Pakistan dynamic.
Yep, definitely something crucial for anyone following the region, and certainly for those of you maybe preparing for exams like the UPSC where international relations are key.
It makes you think, doesn't it, how these historical narratives, these identity politics, actively shape security postures today, not just here, but globally.
We hope this deep dive gave you a clearer picture, not just of the missile test, but the fascinating and sometimes unsettling reasons behind these names.
What stood out most to you? We'd genuinely be interested to hear your thoughts or any more questions you might have. Drop them in the comments below. And if you found this useful, please do like and subscribe. It helps us do more of these deep dives.
And just to remind you, our main source for this discussion was the analysis over at the Eurasian Times. So here's a final thought to leave you with. How might these symbolic naming conventions on both sides actually influence public feeling, public perception, and maybe even the real-world chances for de-escalation, or, heaven forbid, conflict between these two countries? Something to ponder.